Los Corrales de Piedra. This is a story and the history of two maar volcano craters originally called Los Corrales de Piedra, located in the desert, not too far from El Paso, Texas, in an area known as the Potrillo Volcanic Field. The Potrillo Volcanic Field, situated in southwestern Dona Ana County, New Mexico, a mere 30 miles northwest of El Paso, Texas, is a geological wonderland in terms of volcanic formations that include basaltic flows, cinder cones, maar craters, plutons, and shield volcanoes. Most of the volcanic formations make up what is known as the West Potrillo Mountains. However, several volcanic formations can be found nearby that are not included in the West Potrillo mountain range, but are part of the Potrillo Volcanic Field. This area was highly active 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, but today it is considered extinct. On the eastern fringes of the Potrillo Volcanic Field are two depressions, the larger one being over 250 feet in depth and about 1.5 to 2 miles in diameter, and the smaller one, similar in shape, but only 100 feet deep and just over a mile in diameter. Both of these depressions have steep, almost vertical sides, made up of basalt rock, and the bottom is comprised of wind-blown sand and sediment from rain runoff. Ample grass can be found in the center of these two depressions as water collects at the bottom during the rainy season. Local natives would use these depressions as a natural corral to hold livestock while they fed on the grassland at the bottom of these depressions. Locally, these two depressions became known as Los Corrales de Piedra, meaning stone corrals in English. In the year 1880, as the Southern Pacific Railroad Company was building their railroad across the desert from California toward El Paso, a station, water tank, and railroad siding was built and given the name of Afton. With this town of Afton being about 8 miles north of these two depressions or pits, they became known as the Afton Craters, due to their close proximity to the railroad town. A local rancher by the name of G.W. Mossman of nearby Vado, New Mexico, and his son-in-law, C.R. Bruce, discovered water at the bottom of the larger pit and proceeded to dig a well, striking water at a depth of 80 feet. In addition to digging the water well, the two men had to perform significant road work to allow their wagons and teams access to the bottom of the depression. A windmill was built at the bottom of the pit to pump the water from the well into a stock tank, and corrals were built to contain the cattle. Years later, a man named J.F. Kilbourne from El Paso purchased the land, corrals, and water well from Mossman and raised cattle there as well. According to an article in the March 11, 1916 issue of the El Paso Herald, there was mention of Kilbourne stating that the water was quite warm, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, a nice temperature for bathing. However, it had a strong, unpleasant odor due to a heavy content of sulfur in the water. Despite the strong odor, Kilbourne and other guests would bathe in the water for relaxation and therapeutic purposes. Around the same time period, a local rancher named Styling purchased the land and dug a well in the bottom of the nearby smaller depression, putting in a stock tank and wooden corrals as well. These two depressions or craters then became locally known as Styling Hole and Kilbourne Hole, named after their respective owners. Since their discovery, these depressions or craters were commonly thought to be either meteorite craters or possibly sinkholes, until geologists doing research determined that they were actually a volcanic formation known as a maar volcano, formed by explosive interactions between magma rising toward the surface and an underground water supply. The intense heat from the magma caused the water to rapidly boil, turning it into steam. The expansion of the steam generated an intense pressure, resulting in a violent explosion, breaking through an existing layer of basalt and ejecting volcanic ash, rock fragments, and water vapor into the air. The result was a large circular crater with steep walls. Originally, the craters were very deep. However, over thousands of years, wind-blown sand and sediment through erosion began to fill in these craters with silt and debris, giving them the depth they have today. Both craters have a high sand berm on their eastern flanks from wind-blown sand due to easterly winds blowing over the craters. Geologists have actually identified 5 of these volcanic maar formations in the Potrillo Volcanic Field. However, the Afton Craters are the 2 most prominent and well-defined formations. In 1917, the United States Geological Survey published its first series of topographic maps of this area, and as indicated on the Noria quadrangle, the 15-minute topographic map covering the area of these 2 large pits, the northern, larger pit was designated as Kilbourne Hole, presumably after J.F. Kilbourne, and the smaller southern pit was designated as Hunt's Hole. Since the publication of these topographic maps, the world has known these 2 craters as Kilbourne Hole and Hunt's Hole. In an effort to preserve the natural beauty and the wilderness qualities of Kilbourne Hole, the National Park Service designated it as a National Natural Landmark in 1975. In 2014, these 2 craters, as well as the rest of the West Potrillo mountain range, became part of the Organ Mountains Desert Peaks National Monument, further protecting its wilderness qualities. The area is managed by the Bureau of Land Management. Public access is allowed, but driving motorized vehicles is limited to existing roads and trails. Hiking is common in the cooler fall and winter months. If you are adventurous enough to see these craters, please use extreme caution when visiting the area. The roads leading out there are soft and sandy, and one could easily get stuck, so a 4-wheel drive vehicle is highly recommended. Know where you are going. There are many dirt trails leading off in different directions, so getting lost is a good possibility. Always travel in groups, and travel with more than 1 vehicle if possible. Visiting this area in the summer can be brutal, where temperatures often exceed 100 degrees. Take plenty of water. Another thing to watch out for is rattlesnakes. In cooler weather, snakes are found warming themselves on the black rocks, and in the summer heat they will seek shade in the cracks and crevices of the rocks. There is no cell phone service out there, so be careful. Be alert and enjoy your visit to this beautiful and awesome place.